Welcome to Bluegrass Brooklyn, our podcast all about the music we love, straight from the Bluegrass borough of Brooklyn, New York. Welcome. Thanks for joining this Monday edition of Bluegrass Brooklyn. I'm your host, Mike Wilner. This week we are talking with Wilson Savoy of the Pine Leaf Boys. We talk about music, life, and he tells us his Gray Fox story. We hope you enjoy this interview. It's a lot of fun. Just a reminder, the Gray Fox Bluegrass Festival is coming up on July 15th. It runs through July 19th. We will be there. We're the podcast in residence, so we'll be hosting events. We'll have a table set up. You can drop by and say hi. And we will be collecting your Gray Fox stories. So if you'd like to schedule time to tell us your Gray Fox story, please click the link in the program notes and do so. Also, all of the music in this episode, and there's quite a bit, is linked in the program notes. Before we go, please remember to follow us at Bluegrass Brooklyn, Brooklyn spelled BKLYN, on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. Drop a line, mike@bluegrassbrooklyn.com, if you have any suggestions, ideas, or just want to say hi. We promise we will respond. To find jams in Uptown Manhattan, Bronx, Riverdale, New Jersey, and increasingly around the world, check out bluegrassjamsnearme.com. Okay, let's get to the interview. Okay, so here we are with Wilson Savoy, frontman of the Pine Leaf Boys, a band from Southwest Louisiana. First of all, Wilson, thanks a lot for taking time today. Really appreciate it.
Oh, my pleasure.
And let's start off with this. I will guess that some of our listeners aren't that familiar with Cajun music. So can you first give us like the brief introduction to the newbie of what Cajun music is and what we'd be listening for?
Yeah, well, Cajun music is basically the music we have down in Southwest Louisiana. And it's often these days led by a diatonic accordion, which is like a 10-button accordion, which is basically, like my dad says, it's like a harmonica that you play with your fingers. You only have the white notes on a piano, so it's somewhat limited. So it relies more on this cool, pumping rhythmic action that you can get that really can't be replicated by any other instrument. So that really helps drive the music is with this accordion. And then there's always a fiddle, which is a violin for those of y'all who don't know. Violin and a fiddle are the same instrument. It's just how you play it. And then in our band, we like a lot of kinds of music. I've always loved rock and roll, like 1950s rock and roll, like Jerry Lee Lewis. So it's always been important to me to bring in elements of that. So I also play the piano. And so we just kind of mix it up with a mix of Cajun, Zydeco, and old-fashioned rock and roll. I think it makes a really fun, unique sound that we've been doing now for 22 years.
So what holds a band together for that period of time?
Well, we've been very fortunate to have great musicians that are also reliable. That's a hard part. You can often get great musicians, but they might not be the most reliable. But we've been very fortunate to have just great guys who we're all friends. We want to travel. We want to go all over. And it's always been our mission to kind of travel the world. We found that if you can bring the music outside of Louisiana, then you can make an effort to really show the world what this music is. And my role was always, well, I think we sound pretty fun and pretty great. Let's show the world that this music actually is really fun. And it can have variety. You know, a lot of this folk music, often you hear one song, you heard them all. So it's always been my role to like, let's make every song sound unique, one after another. That's very important to the listener if they're not really a Cajun fanatic. You know, I really want to catch them and make them hooked from the very first song by giving them variety, giving them different sounds. And we've been fortunate to take it all over the world. We went on 6 State Department tours, going to like Saudi Arabia and Dubai and Jerusalem and Latvia, Malaysia. I mean, we've been to like 25 countries, and it's just been a wonderful ride. And it continues. You know, we slowed down a little bit. People are having kids and other things, but we're still out there doing it.
So I'm going to ask a question, which maybe it's a loaded question. Gee, Wilson, how did you get started playing accordion?
Sure. So my dad is one of the most famous Cajun accordion players. He might be the very most famous Cajun accordion player. For
Yeah.
of course, for me to say that is somewhat biased. But if you look up Marc Savoy, MARC, you'll see that he's now 86 years old and he's still playing accordion. We have a family band. So as a kid, I heard him playing accordion all the time. I'd always be outside on the trampoline and they'd be playing accordion and I could just hear that music. And I've always equated that listening to music is just like listening to a language. And the same way you learn English as a kid, the same way you learn music. And if you're a
Right.
kid and you hear music again and again and again and again, then you're going to speak that language. So my mom can recount stories of like me jumping on the trampoline and I'd be whistling these tunes, intricate tunes, note for note as they were, just as if I were trying to practice speaking. And so my dad builds accordions. He was one of the very first guys in Louisiana to start building accordions in the 1960s. When I was 13, he gave me an accordion. But at that time, I wasn't really interested in playing accordion. I wanted to play the piano. I wanted to play rock and roll piano. I saw this movie called Great Balls of Fire about Jerry Lee Lewis. And I was like, man, that looks like fun. I loved that music, the rock and roll piano music. But it wasn't until I turned 18, I brought the accordion with me to Baton Rouge. I went to school in Baton Rouge, which is a big city. I grew up in the country. And so
Right.
I went from living on a farm to suddenly living in a gross dormitory in a huge city that was all about football, football, football.
Right.
I didn't care anything about football or anything about sports. So I had this accordion with me that he gave me, and I had it on my shelf like an ornament. And one morning I woke up and I looked at the accordion. I was feeling very homesick and very
Uh,
lonely living there. And I looked at the accordion and something told me just to play it. I had nothing else to do. I didn't really have any friends there. I was
mhm.
living in a gross city that I didn't want to be in. And so I just started taking the accordion outside in the quad where all the students were and just playing the accordion. And people would come and jam with me. And it was really fun. And I became completely obsessed with playing the accordion. I didn't care about anything else anymore. I didn't care about
Uh-huh.
school, grades, nothing. I just wanted to play the accordion and chase the music. I wanted to go and listen to all the old recordings and find how they did it. And I would just spend hours a day practicing and playing and having fun. I've always said to get good at something, you have to become obsessed with it. I've been very fortunate. A few times in my life, I've become obsessed with a few things and I got good at them because of that. I think obsession in something like a talent, for example, is very important to become very good at it. And I think most people that become good at something, they usually can tell you that they went through moments of obsession with that trait. So,
Absolutely. I remember when I was a kid, and I was obsessed with playing bassoon, of all things.
mhm.
And our teacher had on the wall a sign that said, music is 10% inspiration, 90% perspiration. So,
There you
meaning
go.
you got to work at it. And if you're going to spend that kind of time and effort, you
Oh,
really
yeah.
do have to be obsessed. I said it was maybe a loaded question when I asked you about your background, because obviously we who know the music know your dad well as you and your brothers who also play, and your mom. What are the pluses and minuses of coming from such an intensely musical family?
Well, you never know any difference. As a kid, it's just like imagine being the child of a major celebrity. You never know any difference in life. And I've always equated it to like growing up with all these amenities that we have today, like a refrigerator. Like my dad grew up at a time when they barely had a refrigerator and no TV and things. And you don't really know what to compare it to. So as a kid, we grew up in a very small town on a farm, way out in the middle of nowhere, no neighbors. It was just family, and they were playing music and they would invite over all these, what now I know is like these legends of Cajun music, like Dewey Balfa and his brothers and Dennis McGee. And they would come over and just have parties. And as a kid, we'd be like, okay, here's these kind of weird old guys coming and getting drunk with my dad on the porch on Friday night. And, I loved it though, because as a kid, we didn't have any other methods of entertainment. It was either go to your room and read or something, or come hang out with the parents and listen to their music. Maybe you can play some guitar. They never encouraged us to play music, but they never said don't play music. It was just
Uh-huh.
like, here are these instruments. If you want to play them, don't break them. Do it, don't do it. It doesn't matter. Just be yourself. It was always very important to my parents that it was very natural. Everything had to be not forced and just natural. Do it if you want. If you don't, that's fine. And we lived in a town, like most small towns, where sports is the only thing happening in that town. Same thing with my school. Like you mentioned, you took bassoon at school, but we went to a school that had no music at all.
Um,
We were kind of the weirdos, like, oh, there's that family that doesn't like sports and they play music together. We just didn't really fit in on that front. And that kind of made us all want to travel and meet more like-minded people as we got older.
Wow, interesting motivation. So let's help out the listeners who may not be that familiar with Cajun music. Why don't you suggest a couple of songs we can listen to a little bit, and then you can make any comments you wish.
Well, is it limited to my band or just Cajun music in general?
In general.
I would say start off with Amédée Ardouin, who was a black accordion player in the 1920s who played with a white fiddle player. This is an unheard of combination you can imagine in the 1920s.
Yeah.
Listen to their music. It was accordion and fiddle. And listen to the way that Amédée Ardouin sings. He's so far ahead of his time. This beautiful singing that just haunted me as a child, made me want to learn that music. So let's pick one called Tante Aline by Amédée Ardouin. I think that'll kind of give you the early roots of where this music's coming from.
Okay, so let's listen to some of that. Okay, Wilson, why don't you give us your thoughts or comments about that song?
So Amédée Ardouin had a tragic story. He was a young black man living in Southwest Louisiana who was, revered from his amazing accordion playing and singing, but he grew up in a very racist time and a racist place. And the story is that he was basically beaten to death for reasons that are not quite known. The music's very sad, and you listen to his singing, he's always singing for his mother. And it's very soulful, crying, singing, very high pitch. The Cajun music's always been very high registers because this is way before microphones and speakers. So they had to really work with just really projecting their voice by just using higher pitch keys.
Interesting. All right, that's one. Got any others in mind?
Yeah, I would say we could talk about the Balfour brothers because you can't talk about Cajun music without Dewey Balfour and his brothers. There's a great waltz called Tipitite Millon, which means you're so small and cute. And the only reason I'm thinking of this is because when I was living in Baton Rouge, I was learning Cajun music. And one night I went for a drive by myself and this song came on. And that made me so homesick hearing that. I remember it was raining. I was alone. And it was that night that I decided I don't want to be here anymore. I'm leaving this city. I don't want to be here. I want to go closer to home. And I listened to that and the beautiful singing from Dewey Balfour. And shortly after, I moved back. So that's a great song, very soulful. And it's very important, the role of Dewey Balfour and his brothers in Cajun music.
Yeah, didn't he bring the music out of rural Southwest Louisiana up to Newport Folk Festival and kind of introduce the world to it, more or less?
That's right. Yeah, Dewey was a great spokesperson. He was a very likable person, a lot of charisma and charm. A talent scout came down to Louisiana and he didn't know where to go. And he met Dewey. And Dewey was like, we would love to do this. Let's go. And Dewey organized, put together a band and went up. And I think they played like around the same time as like Bob Dylan and like Peter, Paul, and Mary. And everyone in Louisiana was like, you're a fool. You're going to go up there and embarrass yourself. Like nobody cares about that French music up in New England. Like nobody cares about that. You're just going to make an idiot of yourself. And Dewey was like, well, whatever. I'm going to go do it. Like this is my calling. I think our music's very special and I'm going to go do it. And they went up and they got an immediate standing ovation from everyone at the festival who had never heard this music. So powerful and so beautiful and so real and raw. And that was just like, imagine hearing it for the first time, like later in life, hearing Dewey Balfour and Cajun music. So many people were drawn immediately. And a lot of people who lived up in New England were like, I am moving to Louisiana. He was almost like the great prophet that got all these people down there. He and his brothers were instrumental in that whole movement.
You know, as a fiddle player learning the Cajun genre, and fortunate enough to have hooked up with a couple of excellent Cajun fiddle players, Mitch Reed and David Greeley. Like, stop number one, learn Dewey Balfour's style. Listen to him.
Yeah.
Do nothing all day, all night, but listen to Dewey and try and play like that. It's the first thing to learn as a fiddle player. So, all right, let's take a listen to it.
Ça fait pas rien, quoi c'est ça dit. Tu vas venir avec moi dans la maison. Dîner tes jours dans tes bras avec ton air.
There's so many like subgenres of Cajun music, and if we're considering not talking about the Pine Leaf Boys, because I like to think that we're almost like a big mix and amalgamation of like all these other kinds of bands before us, I would say maybe pick one that I grew up on, Savoy Doucet. Michael Doucet has been a huge ally in Cajun music, and when I was starting Pine Leaf Boys, I looked up to Mike Doucet because he has a band called Beau Soleil, which, if you ever heard of Cajun music, you definitely have heard of Beau Soleil.
For sure.
And they were traveling all over the world. I remember looking at their schedule when I was a kid thinking, wow, I would love to one day be in a band of my own that we could travel like Beau Soleil. And I love that they put in all kinds of fun elements. It wasn't just traditional Cajun music. And Mike Doucet was a virtuoso on the fiddle, the way he would just conceptualize his music. And so how about we do one called... how about Zadako Grigri by Beau Soleil? That's a really fun. He wrote that. It has this kind of swampy vibe. It takes Cajun music, the roots of it, but makes it more of this kind of almost like voodoo New Orleans vibe that I really like. And was kind of a big player in what is the Pine Leaf Boys? What's going to be our motto? Are we going to stick to traditional music, or are we going to allow ourselves to kind of break out of that and just kind of do whatever we want? And Beau Soleil kind of gave us the okay, we've already done it, now you can do it as well. Kind of
Very neat. Okay, so let's have a listen.
While I sing you my song, Bayou's hot and old boy it's sweet, the rattling bone to the Creole beat. The word is out, shall you got to go, move your body to the Zydeco. Bayou's hot and getting hotter.
Okay, Wilson, that's a great setup. I hope any of the listeners who want to get a little familiar with the music can listen to those and get a sense of where they might find their taste in music. So, as a Gray Fox featured artist, you're going to be there this year. You performed at Gray Fox before, and we're collecting people's Gray Fox stories. So Can you tell us your Gray Fox story?
We were at Gray Fox with the Pine Leaf Boys 2 years ago. I drove, believe it or not. I had this RV and I was like, I'm just going to drive there. And it was great. Like I pull in and it's this really cool, beautiful countryside. It's unlike anything I'd ever been to, like rolling hills and everyone's camping. And there's these tents set up for music. And we got there and we're hanging out. And we, just like 2 years ago, we're doing it again this year. We play a set like at 11:30 at night. It's like the last band Friday night, or maybe it's even midnight. And I thought to myself, no one's going to be awake at midnight. That's too late. And we got there and there's this enormous tent. It must be 100 by 100, huge tent. And there must be thousands of people waiting for the music, and just mostly young people. Like, it was a lot of festivals we do is usually an older crowd, but this was, in my memory, it was a great mix, but there were a lot of younger people too. And they were all dancing and having a great time. And we got up there and I was kind of nervous, kind of like they mentioned with Dewey Balfa. I was kind of nervous, like, are they going to get what we're doing? Like, we're singing in French.
Yeah.
The accordion is the lead instrument, are they going to get it? That's always a thought. And if you let it get to you, it might make you nervous and you might not have a good show. But then you think, you know what? Even if they don't get it, I love what I do. And what's going to come across is that we love what we do. We're having fun. And I think the music's great. So as long as I think it's great, I'm going to make sure they think so too. So we got up there and there are a lot of other great musicians. There was this guy, Chris Miller, who was playing in the band right before us. And I said, hey, do you want to come on stage and play saxophone with us? And would you go crowd surfing?
Oh my God.
So band's playing and Chris is playing saxophone. And it's like 12:30 in the morning now, or 1 in the morning. There's a million people, it feels like, in the audience screaming and dancing and hands up in the air. And Chris jumps off the stage and goes crowd surfing while he's playing his saxophone.
Totally
goes
insane.
all the way around the room, comes back on the stage. It's like the most hero thing ever. And it just felt so rock star. I never wanted our music to feel like stale or like it's stuck in the 1950s. Like, I wanted to feel like it's something fresh and new and exciting. We're not trying to be Dewey Balfa. We love Dewey Balfa, but we're not trying to be Dewey and make it our own. And I felt like that night at Gray Fox, we really just hit it hard and just really showed the people, this is not some old museum music. This is something fun. And it's okay to break out of those boundaries of traditional music. When you grow up in a very conservative state of Louisiana, a lot of musicians feel like, I have to keep the music in this little box.
Right.
And if I dare add any elements to it that weren't in the 1950s, then it's like blasphemous. I shouldn't be allowed to do that. And as we travel, the more we do, people love what we're doing. And it just kind of makes them feel that we're doing the right thing. You pay homage to the music in all these other ways, but you're allowed to also have fun with it. And that's one thing that we've always done, to just have fun. And that night at Gray Fox, it'll always live in my memory as just being such a fun, wild scene of just like really bringing the music out there,
What a great Gray Fox story. Okay, well, so let's talk about this year. What's going to be happening? What are you looking forward to? Do you have any special plans?
Well, one thing about my life is I've never tried to plan out too much. I try to get the foundation built. In this case, let's book the show. And then we get there and figure it out. We never really know. I know that I'm playing very late again. It'll probably be wild. And no, it won't probably be wild. It will be wild, because if it's anything like the year that I went and there's all these young people out there partying and just ready for a good time, we feed off the audience. And if the audience is having fun, which they are, then we will too. And I remember that night I went to bed very late and I woke up the next morning because I had my RV there. And I woke up at Gray Fox and they were having what sounded like basically like a Sunday spiritual in one of the tents, like bluegrass spiritual music. And I was like, wow, this is so beautiful. And I walked over there kind of bleary-eyed from the night before, and somebody gave me a biscuit and said, they said, welcome to church. And it was like some bluegrass band playing. And it was just like, I had never been to a festival like that really kind of was so respectful to the different kinds of music, and everyone that was there, and they probably weren't religious, a lot of those people, but they were feeling the spiritual side of the Sunday morning music. And it was beautiful. And I had never seen that before, this kind of beautiful Sunday morning bluegrass tradition. And I was just so proud to be a part of it.
And maybe we'll see this again this year. I know we're going to be up there. We're the podcast in residence for Gray Fox, and that means, among other things, We'll be capturing people's Gray Fox stories and leading jams. But I think you said something so important. We have a festival down here in New York called Porch Stomp. It's a big free one-day festival. Me and my buddies from the New York Cajun session, we're going to do a set. And one of the songs I love the most, which is a little offbeat, is Les Blues Militaires.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, which is harmonica, guitar, and voice.
Yeah.
And I want to do it. And, I'm saying, well, we're doing some Zydeco numbers. We're doing some upbeat stuff. How's this going to fit? And then I said, you know what, Mike, you'll love the song. That's all. The thing for me was the revelation that I love this song. And even though, it's quiet and it's slow and it may not be the best thing to be playing outdoors in a kind of to an enthusiastic crowd, I'm doing it.
Right.
And I'm sure they'll like it because I love it.
And that's true. And, like yesterday, we played here in New Orleans, and it's a big crowd. They all want to dance. But we need to take a break, too. Like, if you do 9 songs that are fast,
Right.
So sometimes I think, should we even dare play a waltz? But then we do. And more people come out and dance because they were waiting for that waltz, you know? And
Right.
gives it variety. And it's kind of like a breather. A lot of music, they just want to hit you hard for 1 hour. And it kind of loses the emphasis when every single song is a banger, just all stops just hitting it as hard as it possibly can. So we're like, let's throw in something sentimental right here, right in the middle.
Yeah.
Kind of bring it down, and then we'll bring it right back up. I think it's important. It kind of creates that push and pull that you need in music,
Yeah. So somewhere out there, there's a 10-year-old Wilson or Wilhelmina who's thinking of picking up the accordion and starting to learn to play. What advice do you have for him or her?
Nowadays, with what we have out there, YouTube and all these other mediums like this, it's never been easier to learn how to play an instrument. I mean, you can just go on there and type in. Imagine having that when you were a kid or when I was a kid. Type Cajun accordion tutorial, whatever, and there's like 50,000 videos that pop up immediately. That's one place to start. And look for scholarships. Like, there are so many scholarships out there that want to give it to young people to go learn Cajun music. Courtney Granger has a scholarship. The Chris Stafford, who passed away, he has a scholarship. Tommy Como, and there's so many scholarships for people who don't live in Louisiana. So try to get a scholarship and go to one of these music camps. When I was a kid, I went to Augusta, which is in Elkins, West Virginia. I went to teach accordion, and I had a blast, and I met other kids my age. And then come down to Louisiana, come to Balfa Camp, which is usually in April. And there's kids camp that happens. There's so much going on. There's kids camp that happens in Lafayette where they learn music. And so try to just get yourself out there. Try to get your parents to come with you because they'll love it too, because it's just a really great time. Go to Augusta, go down to Louisiana, go to Balfa Camp, go to kids camp, go to Black Pot Camp. That's another fun one, in October. And just immerse yourself in the music and don't be shy. Don't be like, oh, I don't want to embarrass myself. I don't want to mess up and embarrass myself. Like, you will mess up, and you're even going to mess up on stage one day. Are you going to let that ruin you and it's going to be a horrible show? Or are you just going to be like, I'm human. I make mistakes. And you picked a great music, Cajun music, because it's not about being perfect by any means. If you ever heard Cajun music, it's just a lot of craziness going on. So lighten up, have fun with it, and don't take yourself too serious. And while you're at it, that should be your life's motto too. So
there we go. Life advice as well as music advice. Thank you. If somebody wants to find out what the Pine Leaf Boys are up to or what Wilson Savoy is up to, where can they check out online?
We have a website, pineleafboys.com. And of course, we have like Facebook and Instagram links. But go to our website. It has our whole schedule and pictures and funny videos, and you can touch base with us on there. Mm-hmm. That's probably the best place. And then come see us. We'll be all over the country this coming summer. In Montana, we're going up to New England a whole bunch, and California. So I hope y'all come see us and give it a shot. If you never heard Cajun music and you're not sure what to think of it, come listen to Pine Leaf Boys, and it might surprise you. I know you might be thinking, accordion, what? Or French. Why would I want to hear that? Give it a shot, and you might be surprised.
Yeah, I'm sure people would be surprised just how captivating and engaging it is. And I'll suggest everybody bring their dancing shoes because nobody wants to sit around and listen. Got to get up out of your seat and dance that two-step. Wilson, thanks a million. Really appreciate the time. And I'll look forward to seeing you up at Gray Fox. And hopefully you'll find your way down here to Brooklyn somehow.
Oh, I'm sure we'll be there because I think we're planning on playing the Jalopy in Labor Day or like right around that time. So I'm sure you'll see us. We'll be in Philly as well, which I know once you're up there, everything's very close. There's a Philly dance group called Allons Danser. So we'll be there and yeah, come check us out.
Absolutely. Thanks again for the time.
Definitely. Thank you.
Wilson is such a dynamic musician. He blends heritage and tradition with contemporary and progressive music. What a pleasure to meet him. We're really looking forward to seeing him up at Grey Fox. The Pine Leaf Boys is a great place to start if you're not familiar with Cajun music. So give him a listen. Please remember to follow us at Bluegrass Brooklyn. Click the link in the program notes to schedule time to tell us your Grey Fox story. Drop a line, mike@bluegrassbrooklyn.com. Check out gems in Uptown Manhattan, Riverdale, New Jersey, and beyond. bluegrassgemsnearme.com. Okay, that's it for now, and we look forward to seeing you around the jam circle.